What's up guys, Aram here with Story Shorts again. I just wanted to give you guys a quick, fast, easy guide on how to operate a RED Komodo. There's other guides out there that are like an hour to 2 hours long. And you know, if you're just going on set just to have fun and just to create something, you might not need all of those features, but I will go over the key things you need to know no matter what, so that you can come into set feeling confident. So even if you're like a second AC or a first AC, this will be enough for you, or even a cam op, so that you can just get in there and just start shooting and feel confident about everything that has to do with this camera. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first things first is power. Obviously you need to power it because you need to know what the settings and everything is. So the battery on the Komodo is actually on the back here. So if you want to come take a look, this is the battery. Obviously the Komodo takes the traditional Komodo batteries that comes with. So you press these two buttons has dual Komodo batteries. So obviously we want to run on set for multiple hours at a time, so we will be using the V-mounts most of the time, and in that case we can't just put a V-mount straight on it. We need this V-mount battery plate adapter by Tilta. So as you can see, these mate with this. Once you put it on, now you have a lot more ports to play with, more power options, and of course you have the V-mount mating plate. So now once that goes on, boom, this is already connected to the Komodo, so you just switch it on, bam. And as you can see, you see the light turn on, and there is the screen for you right here. You'll get the Komodo logo, and it does take a while to boot up. These are big boy problems, good problems to have. It should take about 30 seconds. But yeah, so as it's initializing, now we can take control of the camera. So this is your camera settings. So the Komodo, it's a really small screen. You can buy other attachments that can actually talk with this screen, but in this case, we're just going to be using straight off the Komodo. So as you can see, you have your main settings right here. This one is your FPS. So if you click it, you can choose what frames per second to shoot at. So you have your traditional 2398. You can even go up to 40 FPS. Now this all depends on what you are shooting at. So if you're shooting at 6K, or if you're shooting at 4K, these are all going to be different options. The Komodo does not do 6K 60, but it does do 4K 60. So that is your frames per second. If you're shooting cinema, you're going to want to keep it at 2398 anyways. So make sure that's there. The ISO, the native ISO for the Komodo is 800. So try to stay at the 800 as much as possible. Have your lighting kind of adjust for it. So just make sure these two numbers, they're similar. And then you have your shutter angle. So your shutter angle, it should always be 180 degrees. That just means you're doubling your shutter rate. So there's a whole science behind it. Just make sure it's at 180 if you want that traditional motion blur. Then you have your white balance right here. So obviously you can switch from a cooler or a warmer tone depending on what your scene calls for and what your lighting looks like. But yeah, and then this big red button, that is actually your recording button. So on the Komodo, you click it and you're basically rolling. Now obviously there's no media, so let me show you how it looks. So to put media into the Komodo, this is a CF card, okay? It's a CFast. Take a look at it, okay? This only takes CFast cards. So the CFast loading area is right here, if you can see that. And the way to access it, pull this tab, and that's it. Make sure you are mating it correctly with the label and the logo facing forward. Just slide that in, make sure this pops out. Boom. That's simple. And now you will see on the screen how much time and your time code. You'll have the, in this case, the CFast for this has 3 hours and 38 minutes on the card. And if you press record, that is what it looks like. So we're now recording. So yeah, so that's pretty much the gist on how to actually access all the important stuff. Now, to set up your Komodo, you're going to want to go to the menu. This is the menu option. This is the up and down arrows, and this is how you select it. This is how you will view anything on the card. So if you want to view what we just watched, click that, and you click play. You're going to see my hand. Right, we just did that. So click that again to exit it. Now, I was talking about the recording formats, so 6K, 2K, 4K. The way you select that, you go to the menu button right here. So now you go to image, and now you can see all the different kind of settings that we talked about in the main menu. So you can check your ISO here, your shutter here, your white balance here. Now, if you want to go to the actual frame rates, go to project settings. So that's this one right here. And here it is. You go to format, and you can check Super 35, 6K. So you can see all your different options. 16:9 is obviously the traditional one. So if you're a first AC or a cam out for the first time, make sure you're at 16:9. If you're shooting anamorphic, that's a whole different story. You might want to look at how to shoot anamorphic. All formats, this is how you can choose your 4K settings. It goes all the way down to 2K, 17:9. So all these different settings, obviously some settings have a crop. Now, if you're shooting a Komodo, there's a good chance the reason you're shooting on it is because you want to shoot 6K. Now, you want to make sure you're shooting at 16:9. That's the industry standard. Obviously, you can shoot 2:4:1, whatever the project calls for, but for the most part, 90% of your projects are going to be at 16:9. So you go ahead and make sure that it's 16:9, 6K. Now you can go back. So those are really the main things you want to check. Your recording frame rate should be, again, 2398. Your project time base should be 2398 as well. Okay, and this is all for traditional cinema, that sort of thing. File format. If you're shooting on a RED, you want to take advantage of that RED RAW. So recommend keeping it on RED. You can shoot ProRes. Obviously, it's a little bit more accepted, but RED RAW is going to be the reason why you bought this in the first place, so make sure you have that clicked. RED quality, that really just depends on your project. So if you're doing a lot of green screen stuff, anything that involves special effects, anything like that, make sure you're high quality. Otherwise, you can get away with medium quality if you're just doing things outdoors, indoors. And then low quality if you think there's certain shots that you can compromise on. And then extremely low quality would be stuff like, if you're just shooting a birthday or something like that where you don't need to go crazy on the colors. It really just depends on your project. So my rule of thumb is just shoot MQ until the project calls for HQ. So that's pretty much it. When it comes to the more technical stuff, I don't want to go too much onto a lot of things. There's a bunch of other settings that you can look into, but just to get it up and rolling, those are the main settings that you're going to want to worry about. So yeah, so that's the main settings. I didn't want to confuse you guys too much. It's really not that hard. It looks intimidating at first, but that's kind of the gist of it when it comes to the settings. Now I can go over more of the external buttons, how to change lenses, how to build it, that sort of thing, so you guys can come into set with more confidence. So yeah, so first things first, most cameras will have a cage that you can mount different things on. This one obviously has a handle, so you can mount all these different things. This is a hot shoe mount. You can mount a hot shoe mount, pretty much anything that has the capability for it. You just slide it on, tighten it. Pretty simple, so make sure that you check in with your DP or your cam op, see what does the camera package come with. So if you're a first AC, you understand what you need to get, what you need to bring to make sure that you can mount all these extra accessories. So this is obviously an external monitor, which you really want to use, and you can't mount that unless you have mounting options. So just keep that in mind. There's videos on mounting options for the Komodo and that sort of thing. But yeah, so the Komodo though, it does take SDI. So any monitor that you're gonna ask from your rental gear, or if you're gonna bring it on set, make sure it has an SDI input, because the Komodo has SDI outputs only. So let me show you a little bit more of that. This is where the SDI goes into. So the way you put it in is you push down, right? So let me just take it off fully to really show you guys. So the way that you can mount SDI ports is there's a little notch right here. You want to align that with the notches on the sides. So the notches on the sides align with these notches, so that when you put it in, you're able to turn and secure it. That way it doesn't pull out. And you'll see that a lot with these professional cameras, because HDMI, there's no locking mechanism on HDMI. And when you're on set, and if you lose picture, you're wasting hundreds of dollars, a lot of people's time, and it's just something you shouldn't be dealing with. So SDI comes standard on a lot of higher end cameras. So if you're used to shooting on a DSLR or on like a Blackmagic 4K, now start getting used to the SDIs, because that is the industry standard. So now that you got a little bit of the SDI, so the media, these are the inputs for any microphones. So if you're gonna have an external microphone, you can mount the microphone anywhere on here, but this is the input. It's a 3.5 millimeter jack. This is for the headphones. So this is if you're doing something run and gun, you'd want to put your external microphone and then your headphones that you're monitoring as you're shooting. But other than that, if you have a sound person, you shouldn't be worrying about this anyways. But yeah, so that's that. Now, how to change lenses. So the way to change lenses, obviously, is right here. There is a button. I don't know if you guys can see that. So you see this button here. I'm touching it with my tool right here. Okay, so you can see it. You click it and you turn. Make sure you're holding it with both hands. Now you have the lens. This Komodo is chambered in RF. What that means is it will take RF lenses directly into the body without an adapter. Anything else, if you're trying to put a Nikon lens, if you're trying to put a Canon EF lens, or if you're trying to put any other lens on it, you need adapters. So this is an adapter, okay? This adapter will go on the lens, right? So now you can use a Canon EF onto an RF mount. This is really important, because a lot of people will just get any lens and they'll think it goes on any camera. That's not true. You need to get the appropriate adapter for it, or else your entire production is screwed. So make sure you know, as a DP or as a first AC, you know what is the kind of lenses we're using, and you double check, okay, what camera body are we using, and do they interact? And if they don't, make sure you get the correct adapter for it. So, but if you do get the adapter for it, right, you will have a prep day. You can essentially make sure everything fits nicely. You have your red dots. So this is how you can align it. You have a red dot here, a red dot here. Just literally align them, okay? And that's it. Now a lens like this, that's pretty heavy, you'll need a lens support. So make sure you add that to your package. And it's pretty straightforward, just slide it onto the rails. But that is how you mount and dismount a lens. It's this button right here, and it's with a turn, okay? Pretty simple, but a lot of people can complicate it. Little tip here is when you're grabbing a lens and you have it in your hand, make sure that whoever you're handing it to, if it's your first AC or your second AC, they say mine, and you don't let go unless you hear them say mine, okay? A lot of lenses have been broken because that rule has been broken. Don't break that rule. So moving on to the last pieces is obviously kind of like more of the ecosystem of things. So these are rails. You're gonna want rails on any cinema camera you have, because that's what's gonna allow you to mount so many things, like this manual focus pulling machine, this lens support, and these shoulder rig handles. So this is how the handles look like by themselves. Obviously you just slide them on and then you tighten them with these knobs. Okay, so that's that. This lens support, same kind of deal. They're all tension-based systems. Slide them out just like that. Same deal, tension, slide them out just like that. And you can mount other stuff. So this is a automatic, so you can shoot wirelessly. You can pull focus wirelessly, and usually that will be powered by your V-mount. So yeah, it's just things like that that you can mount on a rail system. Obviously, if you want to see, all right, this is the rail. Slide this guy in. As a first AC, you do want to kind of get familiar with this system. And then, yeah, slide it in, and then you start building the things as they make sense. Obviously, you wouldn't put the shoulder rig first, because then you lose access to put this. So you got to make sure you also understand a little bit about the build and you're putting things in the correct order. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are all the things that you need to know when it comes to RED KOMODO. It's really not that confusing. It's confusing at first. It's intimidating at first because, you know, these are all new ports that you're not used to, and you know, it's a cinema camera, it's expensive, but hopefully after watching this video, you understand, hey, it's just a couple settings and some external buttons, and you're not intimidating anymore. So make sure to rewatch this 2 or 3 times until you really feel confident, so that next time you go onto that set, whether it's a student set or a professional set, and even if you're not in the camera department, you know, even if you're a grip or a PA, just knowing about the camera, you can come in and say, if they're ever having an issue and like, oh, why isn't this opening, or why isn't this recording, you can come in and troubleshoot with them, like, hey, I actually know a little bit, and you can go save the day, right? So it's very, very valuable information regardless of your position. So get used to it. This is becoming the indie standard. It's this and the Blackmagic 6K Pro and other cameras, but after this you go straight into the professional level kind of cameras like the ARRI Alexas, the Sony Venice. So you'll mostly encounter more of this kind of camera than any other camera, at least during the time of this video. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, hope this was useful, and I hope this helps some of you out there to gain that confidence, to try new things, so that now maybe you want to go from a PA to the camera department, and you know, you just want to get used to cameras. So yeah, hopefully this helped. And again, make sure to follow us on Instagram. We'll always notify you of new sets that we have going on, new workshops that we'll be planning, any boot camps that we'll be hosting. That's all going to be announced on our Instagram. So make sure you stay on our Instagram. You turn on that subscription bell, you turn on that notification bell, but and obviously subscribe to us, because we do drop shorts almost every month. So other than that, I'll see you guys later, and yeah, peace.